Okay, so as I promised, we're going to get started with a quick recap of last month's webinar. And as you may recall, I am not a fan of cold calling. Now, that doesn't mean I am not a fan of picking up the phone. It just means I'm not a fan of wasting time. So what I'm really saying here is we want to find ways to make sure your time is used as efficiently as possible. In traditional cold calling, 95% or more of your time is wasted because you're not getting through to the person you want to reach. We're also antagonizing our clients by doing what they dislike most, which is constantly being cold called. So while we're not saying don't pick up the phone, we are saying there's a better way to pick up the phone to sell staffing. And that's where content marketing comes into play. Content marketing is all about educating people. It's not threatening. It's a high-value way to nurture relationships. Essentially, we're teaching people when, why, and how to use staffing services. We're showing them the economic value of what we can deliver. We're showing them the emotional benefits of not having that frustration of hiring people or not getting work done because I don't have the right temporary employees. Content marketing is a methodology that combines traditional things like print, direct mail, PR, inbound marketing techniques like blogging, SEO, social media, and thought leadership activities like writing and speaking into an integrated process to make your sales efforts more effective. And content marketing is not passive. When you do it right, it is very tightly integrated with your sales activities, so you're leveraging your content to get more appointments, to have more meaningful conversations, and to close more deals without hearing the dreaded question, what's your price? So how do you get started with content marketing? Well, simple three-step approach. Number one, create some great content. That great content could be a video, a webinar, an ebook, a white paper, or even something as simple as a blog post. The idea is you provide some piece of information that's interesting and useful, relevant to the people you want to reach. So if I'm dealing with HR managers, I have to provide content that's something they're going to find very relevant, which is different content than if I'm selling to an IT manager and different content than if I'm selling to a candidate. Content marketing has to be client or recipient focused. It's not about your company. It's about the problems, the needs, the interests, the challenges, and the goals of the people that you want to sell to. Once you create that great bit of content, get it on your website. Create landing pages where people can download your content and where you can capture their contact information to feed sales leads to your sales team. You're trying to engage people with your ideas. So you want to make it so they can engage with you, whether it's in the format we're in now, a webinar, a live presentation, a lunch and learn, or as suggested on screen here, your website is a great place to provide the content you share and to capture the leads of the people who are coming to get your content. And step three, promote your content. Leverage your content in every form of communication you have with prospects, with clients, and with candidates. And on screen you see a whole bunch of ideas: email, social messaging, social sharing, SEO, PPC. I'm not going to read the whole list, but we're going to go through a lot of examples that will show you the way staffing companies are creating content and promoting content to get people to engage with their ideas. And even better, to get people to further share their ideas, to expose your firm and your ideas to entire new audiences, people you don't even know today. Okay, so that's the 3-minute recap of last month's webinar. And again, if you missed last month's webinar and you want to hear the full hour where we covered in detail all of those points and showed you how to do content marketing for your staffing firm, when you get done with today's call, go to HaleyMarketing.com, go to our freebies, and then you can see all of our webinars that are available on demand. Now transitioning, we're going to talk a little bit about the content marketing toolbox, the essential tools that you can use to do content marketing for your staffing firm. Now, for most staffing firms, here's the list. You need a great website. A great website is one that allows you to easily add content. through a blog, through creating landing pages, you want to make sure that anytime you create something new, you can get it on your site. Speaking of which, that site has to have a blog. That's not a nice-to-have feature of a website anymore. That's a must-have. With all the changes that Google has made in how they index websites, if you are not blogging regularly, you are not going to appear in search results. And if you go to some company and you spend lots of money on that one-time SEO project, it may work great for a little while, but without that blog or without some other strategy for ongoing addition of content to your site, your SEO strategy is going to fail. Email and LinkedIn and the phone, the three tools you probably use the most today, are absolutely essential, and you should continue to do them. We're going to show you lots of examples of different ways you can use email and content marketing, and different ways you can use LinkedIn for direct messaging and social sharing to get people to engage with your ideas. The phone, as I mentioned, content marketing is not passive. We want you to pick up the phone. We want you to make sales calls, but we want you to leverage the content, whether you're using the phone to drive people to the content, or you're using the content as the reason to make calls, to have more meaningful conversations. The phone's an essential part of content marketing. And all you need to get started is that one piece of content and your own plan. Okay, so now it's time to give you some ideas of what you can do in your marketing. And Brad, I'm going to turn it over to you as we get started with the first of our case studies.
Thank you so much, David. The first of our case studies, we're going to focus on a company called Adams & Garth. They're a facility in Virginia. They have 5 or 6 offices in different parts of Virginia. And one of the things that they wanted to do, one of their challenges, was building awareness in new markets. So they had established offices, and they were looking to expand into new areas. So they wanted to increase awareness and get their name in front of as many people in those new cities as possible. Next, they were competing with larger nationals. So in each of those markets, they would run into large nationals with deep pockets, much like I'm sure some of you on this call do. Next on the list is overcoming price objections. They are always facing that dreaded question: what's your markup? What's your price? Another thing that they wanted to do is educate non-users of staffing. So looking at small businesses that currently weren't working with a staffing provider and explain to them the benefit of staffing services. And finally, they needed to differentiate in a crowded marketplace. They're running into not only a lot of large nationals, but a lot of smaller players too. So in a crowded marketplace, they were looking for what they could do differently to stand out from the crowd. So let's hop on to the next slide and talk a little bit about the strategy we put in place. First and foremost, as David mentioned, you need a good website. So we looked at strengthening their online presence. We wanted to increase inbound traffic and build awareness, and we'll get to how we did that in a moment here. But a core of that is creating content. And David said it earlier. You don't want content that talks solely about the services you offer. You want to create content that solves unique problems that the client has, that helps you get from being a vendor to becoming more of a partner. And that was one of our goals here. I mentioned earlier, we want to position Adams & Garth as a company that's a local provider, so you get that local feel, that good customer service that goes along with a local organization. But they also wanted to showcase that they had the resources of the larger providers. Okay, and we'll show you a tool to do that in a minute here. And finally, we wanted to provide their sales team with tools to start a conversation. So instead of having their sales team just cold call and cold call and cold call and ask, what are do you have a hiring need? Do you have any orders? We want to give their team something to start a meaningful conversation with that transitions into a sales call but doesn't start out there. Okay, so some of the tools that we're using in this campaign. First and foremost, we looked at the website. You need to make sure that you have a clean and crisp website. Make sure that your message is simple. And you can see in this example, the message is straightforward. Adams & Garth is Central Virginia's leading staffing and executive search firm. Okay, it's simple, it's to the point. They're not trying to be everything to everyone, and they explain to people exactly what they do. The entire website is SEO optimized, so every page on this website is optimized to capture as much traffic from searches as possible. And one other thing that I wanted to point out here, they recently launched a technology division. And instead of just lumping that in under the different services that they offer, they created a unique section on their website. That gives us the opportunity to optimize it for search engines because it's a unique page or unique section on their site. But from the visitor perspective, that also shows that, okay, they do specialize in IT. You don't have IT positions listed next to warehouse positions, which are listed next to clerical positions. It has its own unique landing area, and you can direct people there. So again, they're not trying to be everything to everyone, but they're segmenting their different divisions on different pages so they can be seen as a specialist in those different areas. The next tool that I want to highlight is a landing page with an ebook. Okay, and here's an example. They created a wonderful ebook. This is 24 pages, and it's a workforce strategies guide. And in this guide, they highlight unique problems that hiring managers face, and they provide solutions. Okay, so they don't just sell their services. They explain what the problem is, they offer a solution to the problem, and then they highlight some results that other people have benefited from. Okay, so it's a great way to highlight the value that you provide without pushing your services in their face. And what this does, by creating a unique landing page here, we're able to capture people's name and their contact information. And this landing page on their site gets 30 to 50 visits each and every month. That's 30 to 50 leads each month coming just from this one landing page. So it's a great opportunity. If you're creating a landing page for your organization, a few things to keep in mind. Make it simple. Make the contact form very easy to fill out. We find that the longer the contact form is, the more drop-off there is. And provide something of value. Okay? Don't just put a brochure up that talks about your services. Put something up that solves problems for people. All right, the next tool that they're using blog content. Okay, and this is a recurring theme, but the blog focuses on solving specific problems. Again, it positions the company as a partner. It helps them differentiate their firm from all those large and small competitors in the marketplace. It gives people coming to the website more information. Okay, it gives them a destination. It keeps them on the website longer. And then at the bottom of every blog post, and you don't see it in this example here, but there are social sharing icons. So we have the Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn icon, so that visitors to the site, if they find the information useful, can share it with their contacts. But even beyond that, the internal team at Adams & Garth can use those buttons to simply and easily post this content to their personal outlets. So with one click, they can click on the LinkedIn icon, send it to people that they're already connected with, set it as a status update in LinkedIn, and share it with groups on LinkedIn. Okay, so they leverage the content on their site. It's getting SEO value, so you're adding fresh, relevant content to your site. You're getting traffic from search engines. But then they're also pushing this out through social media outlets and getting it in front of people that they otherwise may not be able to reach. And this is a great example of selling without selling. Another tool that they're using is something called Google Remarketing. And this is a great advertising tool. It's through the Google AdWords platform. And what happens is people that come to your website, if you have remarketing code added on your website, it creates a cookie on their machine. So as they're going to different websites across the internet, your ads begin to follow them. It's a great way to stay top of mind, and it's a great way to appear even larger than you are. When we got back to their challenges, one of their challenges was competing with the large nationals. Okay, this is a great way to compete with the large nationals. It allows you to have your ads in high rotation for people that have already expressed an interest in your company. They've already come to your site. And as they're going to other sites across the internet, they keep seeing your name, your logo, and you can have a call to action if you'd like. Here's a great example. This ad is showing up on a site like Forbes. Okay, on YouTube, and there's hundreds or thousands of websites out there that your ad can begin showing up on. Another tool being used is an email newsletter, and when we get further in the presentation, Todd will provide some more insight into how to use email newsletters, but in this case, we're featuring articles, we're highlighting the blog posts, we're looking at all that content that we're already developing, and just using a new delivery channel to get it in front of more and more people. Few things that I wanted to point out here. One, we're not just relying on inbound marketing. Okay, inbound marketing is good, but we want to take it to the next level. Content marketing incorporates inbound marketing, so people coming to you, but also outbound marketing. And email newsletter is a great example of this. We're pushing this out to an audience, pushing this out to people that we're already connected with to get more interest. And you'll notice in this example, the click here buttons are, kind of blatant. They're in your face. Okay, just making a change like that and making it more intuitive for the user, the recipient of this email, tell them exactly what to do next, we've increased view and click-through rates. And I'd like to wrap up this case study with just sharing some results. Adams & Garth has been content marketing for 5 years now. And as you can see here, we've got some phenomenal results to share. Way back in 2009, they had very good traffic for a company of their size. But if you look now, their search engine traffic is up over 350%. Their total website visits have increased almost 700%. And perhaps most impressive are total page views. Almost 2,500% increase in total page views. That means that people are coming to their site. Okay, we're attracting new people to their site through search engines. Visits are way up. But people are staying on their website longer. And they're staying on their website longer because there's good content there. There's something of value. They're providing value to clients, and they're solving problems. That's why page views have increased so much. And another thing to point out, that all this content that they're producing on their site, it doesn't go away. So we're still getting traffic from the content we produced back in 2009, and it's just growing exponentially. So content marketing has a very long shelf life if you put together some good relevant content.
Great. Thank you very much, Brad. And next up, Todd, will you give us an intro to Vector Technical's challenges in their case study?
Yeah, sure, David. Vector Technical is a staffing firm out of Cleveland, fairly small in terms of the number of people that they employ. And they've been a client of ours for a couple of years now. And they came to me a couple of years back and said, we're just not getting really great website traffic. They installed Google Analytics, which if you don't have that on your website, I highly recommend installing it. It's a free service from Google that will be able to track all of the traffic to your website, how people are finding you, where they're coming from, what specific pages they're going to. But we looked at it and just said, there's not really great traffic coming to the website. So next up was to say, well, what are we doing outside of the website to drive people to it? And I brought up social media, and the client said, well, we really don't have a good social media presence. So that was a good place to start. And probably the number one challenge, and what I kind of want to focus on throughout this case study here, is that they had a very limited budget, not just with money, but also with just man-hours, resources. They didn't have time to devote to updating their social media sites, to putting content onto a blog. So what we did is we came up with a fairly simple strategy. One, and you'll see this fairly similar to Adams & Garth. We wanted to create a really strong online presence. We wanted to build inbound traffic and increase their brand awareness. They have been around for 20 years in Cleveland, so brand awareness was very important to them as well. And then we also wanted to create content that's going to solve problems. Content that is you're going to identify some of the headaches that your clients are having. And of course, again, this was all on a limited budget. And that was really kind of the number one challenge for us as a marketing firm, to go to them and with some suggestions on things, but not have it break their bank. So what we started with was our service called HaloMail, and it's our content marketing program. Vector had been using this for a couple months before this conversation came up. So we looked at it and we said, well, we've got a really great client newsletter every month, filled with tons of great content, really good take-home value within this content. We also have a candidate newsletter so that they can stay in touch, stay top of mind with their candidates. And then we also have the Staffing Resource Center, which is just a gigantic library of really great content focused on HR, staffing, human capital management, some really great tools within that. So we said, well, let's use this really kind of as the base for what we want to do to drive people to your website. So what we did, instead of creating brand new content across all the different platforms, we said, let's take all this really good content that we already have within the newsletters and within the resource centers, and let's use them across multiple channels. So the first place that we went to was their blog. we installed a blog on their website, WordPress blog on their website, and the content that's within the blog is just the content from their monthly newsletter. So we took all the client articles, 2 to 3 pieces of content per month for the clients, a couple pieces of content for candidates. We set up different categories within their blog. So you can kind of see it here, career tips, hot jobs, HR and hiring best practices. And we categorize all this content every month. So each month we're adding in 3, 4, 5 pieces of content to the blog. Again, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're not creating brand new content. We're just featuring it on an additional channel. So there may be people who are visiting their website that aren't getting their newsletter or vice versa. So it's not that you're sending out these pieces of content multiple times to people, but you want to attract people on as many different channels as possible. So we put it on their newsletter. We put it on their blog. Next, we went to their social media sites, and we enhanced their Facebook, their Twitter, their LinkedIn sites, because as I mentioned, they really didn't have a really good social media presence. And again, instead of reinventing content, we used the same content that we were using in the newsletters and in the blog, and we fed those to social media. Very easy to set up RSS feeds right into your Facebook, Twitter pages, so that, again, not only do you not have to recreate the content, but you don't even have to go into your individual social media sites and post this content. It's automatically being added through the blog. And as you can see here, we've added, this is just some screenshots from their Facebook page, but we've added in 2013 recruiting trends. 523 people saw that post. The Blogging for Career Success, a candidate article, 518 people saw that post. Then what they're also doing is taking this content and going into LinkedIn. And LinkedIn's a really great place to share content. Not only to share it on your personal pages, on your company pages, but if you're not familiar with the different groups within LinkedIn, I suggest doing some research. They would go into local Cleveland HR groups and post this content as a discussion. So they may take this 2013 recruiting trend and say, hey, we just came across this great piece of content on recruiting trends for the coming year. What are some recruiting trends that you're seeing within the HR industry locally here in Cleveland? And then people can discuss. They can share information within the different groups within LinkedIn. Also a great way to build your network, too, because anybody who you're actively having a conversation with in LinkedIn, then make sure you add them into your network. Next piece we did was sales collateral. Again, you'll notice the similar article titles throughout these examples. But again, we took the same piece of content and we made sales collateral out of it. So we made a really nice desktop published version of it that the sales reps can just print off on their computers in the office and use those as drop-offs, as leave-behinds, information packets. So again, it's just another channel to hit people with. So if they're making cold calls or cold visits, they can just provide this really great content to people that they're visiting. And as you can see, the results were pretty great. Just over the first year of doing this, overall website traffic increased 181%. Traffic to their website from Facebook increased 810%. And that's because really they were getting almost zero traffic from Facebook to their website. But by adding in all this really great content to Facebook, it was driving people back to their website. The number of keywords that were driving traffic to their website, and that means when people go into Google or Yahoo and type in keywords, just the number of keywords that were bringing people to their website increased almost 50%. And this was a really great number that I was just shocked by, and the client was thrilled by. The traffic from all of their content marketing sources was 3 times the amount of traffic that they were getting from Monster and Simply Hired combined. So again, it really didn't take a lot of work, a lot of effort to just come up with several pieces of content every month and use them across multiple platforms. And by doing that, we're driving a ton of traffic into their website.
Great, thanks, Todd. And Brad, I know we're going to come back to you for case study number 3, but before we do, there was a question that just came in. And Brad, I'm going to throw this one to you. Is it acceptable to refer/link to other industry experts' articles in blogs, or must they all be original content?
That's a great question. I think it is acceptable, but I wouldn't make it the norm. And the reason for that is when you do that, when you refer to other industry experts, you're taking traffic away from your website. So it's completely acceptable to do that. I'd mix a few of those in per month, but make sure that the bulk of your content or the majority of your content is custom content that you've created that keeps people on your website and doesn't take them away. Now, to build on that, on a platform like Twitter or LinkedIn, I think it makes a ton of sense to begin sharing other people's content, because then in turn they'll begin sharing your content more frequently too. So if you can build a reciprocal relationship that way, you can leverage each other's audience and get your message in front of more people. So think about influencers in your market, build a relationship with them, and push content back and forth. Another thing that you can look at doing is something called guest blogging. So if those other influencers have a blog on their site, you can guest blog on their blog, and then in turn take their blog post and put it on your site. So it's a great way to trade links back and forth as well.
Yeah, one more thing that I'll add to that. If, let's say, you see something in a major magazine that you're never going to get permission to use that content on your website, it's very acceptable to write a little synopsis of what you read and what it means to your clients, and then include a link to that content. So the majority of the content is not original, but your analysis is original. It makes a great blog post. And before we move on, Todd, a question just came in on Vector Technical. Can you trace the increase in revenue as a direct result of the campaign? Do you have any sort of financial impact for the company and how they've grown in the last year?
Well, I know that they have grown quite a bit. Exact numbers I don't have, and I will just kind of take this opportunity to really encourage staffing firms to do a good job of tracking their marketing efforts. It's one of the things that I would say, if you ask me, what's the number one thing you wish your clients would do better, it is tracking. A lot of times we'll ask clients, did you get a lot of job orders from a top candidate mailing, or are you seeing increased revenue? And they just don't have that information. So I will say, if I can make a plea to the staffing industry, is to do a better job of tracking your efforts, asking people, how did you hear about us? What made you pick up the phone and call us today, or what made you email us today?
Okay, thanks, Todd. All right, Brad, let's move on to Integrity Healthcare, our third case study.
Okay, thanks, David. This particular client is a locum tenens recruiter. So we only had two challenges here. Create a stronger online presence so that when physicians did visit the site, they felt comfortable, they knew they were working with somebody that understood them, understood the industry. And two, recruit high-level candidates, so get more of those physicians in. That is their biggest challenge. If they can get physicians in, they can place them. So our strategy, number one, revamp the website. We want to make sure, again, that physicians felt comfortable when they came to the site, that they knew they were working with a specialist. And position the company as a high-end niche recruiting specialist. They want to make sure that people don't get the impression that they fill administrative talent. They want to make sure that they're known for locum tenens. Become the go-to resource for healthcare providers was another goal. And another recurring theme here, solve specific problems that healthcare providers and facilities face. So they went out and talked to their clients about what specific problems they had and built a content strategy around solving those problems. So the tools being used, number one, the website. The website was revamped so that it was very clean, crisp. The mission is straightforward and front and center. They know they're focused. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. And then one nice feature on the homepage here, and you can see it across the bottom of this sample, that reddish or pink bar at the bottom. After a few seconds of being on the homepage, this pop-up shows up. Okay, and it's not obtrusive. It's down at the bottom, but it still catches your eye. One of their biggest goals was attracting new physicians, so they wanted to highlight a referral bonus. This pops up. It grabs people's attention. When you click on this, you're taken to a landing page. David, yep. So this landing page is very simple. Okay, what we've done is we've stripped out most of the navigation on this page because we want people to fill out this form. We don't want them to go to other pages in the site. So we stripped out navigation. We've made it very clean. There's not a ton of copy on this page. And we've tried to make the form as short as possible with still capturing enough information. We don't want to see a big drop-off rate on the form, so we haven't made every field required, but we want to make sure we have enough information so that we can follow up with people that come to this website. So when creating a landing page, make it simple, make it easy for people to complete, and make sure that you don't have to scroll. All right, the next tool that we use on this site is a job board. And I will say to everyone on this call, if you take one thing away from this call, if you don't have a job board on your site, get it. The job board is the #1 most visited site on every staffing and recruiting website. You need to make sure that your jobs are listed there. And when you think of jobs, don't think of them just as job listings. Think of them as a piece of content, because that's really what they are. They're a piece of content, and it's valuable content. Candidates that are coming to your site want to know what types of positions are available. Even clients will come to your site and go to your job board to see what types of positions you most frequently fill. So it's a very, very valuable content. And if you don't have jobs on your site, why would a candidate ever register with you? Okay, they're going to go to your competitor. If your competitor has 100 jobs listed on their site and you have none, who do you think they're going to register with? You need to make sure that you have a job board and that you continually update it with new positions. Another thing that you want to do is make sure that in your job titles, you're fairly descriptive and include keywords in those job titles. So don't just think about the actual title of the position. Think about how people that are qualified for that position might search the internet. Okay? And make sure you use keywords in there. Again, each job is a piece of content, and each piece of content on your site can rank well in search engines. So make sure that you take all of that into account. Write good job titles and write good job descriptions that both have good keywords in them. Okay, another tool that we're using on this website to draw more traffic and differentiate services are blog posts, again, that solve problems. One of the problems that the facilities they work with was facing is getting patients to pay. So this is great content. It doesn't tie directly to staffing, but it solves a specific problem that their client has. So talk to your clients about the problems that they have. Write content about solving that. Not every piece of content has to relate directly back to your services. The goal here is to find out what keeps your clients up at night, provide solutions to that, and make them feel comfortable in working with you as a consultant and not a vendor. Okay, so again, talk with your clients and build a content strategy around that. And another thing that you're going to want to do is look at analytics. So with each one of your blog posts, you can look at analytics and see if people are coming to that page. Okay, you can see what the most popular topics are and then adjust your content strategy. And here's another great tip. You can have your jobs posted on your job board, but if you have an urgent need or a position that you frequently fill, pull that content over onto your blog too. And I wouldn't do this with every position that you have, but the blog is an amazing search engine optimization tool. There's been cases in which I've posted a blog post, and within 15 minutes, that blog post is being picked up and indexed by Google. Okay, so it's a great way to get your content out there in front of people very quickly. And by posting jobs on your blog, you can mix in very specific keywords. And you see in this example, we mix in the keywords family practice physician. We mix in geography. Okay, and then we highlight details about the position. And then we link to the position with very specific keywords, and we take that link back to the job board where people can apply for that position. So we're getting more visibility for this job and increasing the number of people that apply for it. But again, don't do this with every position. Do this with very tough to fill positions, and I think you might find it very beneficial. And let's talk briefly about results. In little over a year, we saw a 600% increase in search engine traffic. Okay, and when I say search engine traffic, what I mean by this is people that are specifically searching for the services that Integrity Healthcare offers are finding their website, because that's how we've built our content strategy. Okay, so we're capturing the lowest hanging fruit, and we're capturing those people when they're in the buying process. So they're on the internet, they're going to Google, they're searching for a provider, and Integrity Healthcare is coming up. Now, for this particular client, and David, if you want to advance to the next slide, we actually do have some great statistics. So they do a wonderful job of tracking where candidates they place come in. And they, at the end of the year, at the end of last year, they looked at their recruitment channels to determine what recruitment channel was most effective. And they weren't just looking at what recruitment channel drove the most people to the website or drove the most applications. They dug deeper. They were looking at people that they actually placed, physicians that they placed on assignment, and tracked back where that application came from. And there were 2 recruitment channels that stood out: their internal job board and their blogging services. And in fact, they said that that generated the highest return on all their recruitment activities and were nearly double most other sources. Okay, so it had a direct business impact. Not only were we driving more traffic, but that traffic turned into people that they placed.
Great. Thanks, Brad. And we're now going to transition. Those are our 3 major case studies, but we have a lot of very specific quick hitters. And we're now going to go through a number of different tools that you might want to incorporate into your own content marketing. So Todd, you want to get us started with email newsletters?
Yeah, sure. We've mentioned this a couple times with Adams and Garth and with Vector about email newsletters being a great source of content, really kind of being the base of your content marketing program. From a design standpoint, you really want to make sure that your email newsletters stand out. I mean, if you think about how many email newsletters you get into your inbox every day, you really want yours to stand out from the rest. So really bold visuals, really attention-getting subject lines. We've gone to even some what you might call controversial subject lines, but they got results in terms of open rates. But also you want to think about, from a design perspective, how many different places your contacts are viewing this. So not just on their desktops at work, but also checking their emails on their phones. So making sure that your design is mobile friendly. And there's a lot of information out there on the specifics on how to make sure that it is mobile compatible. But then you also want to, from a newsletter standpoint, is to make sure that you're tracking. We're going back to this kind of idea of tracking your marketing, but making sure that whatever email marketing platform you're using has a really good reporting tool so that you'll be able to see who's opening the emails, which emails are bouncing, not getting to the recipients, who's clicking on the different links within your newsletter, so you can kind of determine future content based on what has really been popular with your visitors. And it's a great way to integrate with sales too. A couple days after you send out your newsletter, take a look at your reports. Print out the reports, hand them to your sales team and say, here's the people on your contact list that opened up the email or clicked on our article about HR. It's a really great way to integrate with your sales team and get them involved as well in your content marketing. And next I want to talk a little bit about top candidates. We talk about content marketing, and a lot of that is going out and finding content or creating new content from outside sources. But there's one source of content that you already have in-house, and that's your candidates. These make for a great piece of content marketing. In fact, some of the more successful mailings that our clients send out every year are top candidate mailings. And when we talk about content marketing today, a lot we've talked about is driving traffic to your website or increasing your social media presence. But this is one of those tactics that can almost immediately impact your bottom line. You're sending out a list of the top candidates that are available and giving people a platform to immediately respond to you saying, I'd really like to take a look at this Vice President of Product Development. This particular example that we see here is from a client of mine in New Jersey, and they have 5 very specific niche markets that they service. So every month what we do is we create an email newsletter for them. Each niche gets their own newsletter. So the content is always the same. So we're not creating brand new content across all 5 newsletters, but we are doing specific top candidates to each of those specific niches. So there's an engineering list, and a food list, and an IT list, market research. So each one of those lists gets candidates that are specific to them so that they don't have to scroll through a bunch of candidates from other niches. They are getting very specific candidates for their needs.
And Todd, if I can chime in here, I have a client that will send out a top candidates mailing maybe about 2 a month, and each time they do, they get 3 to 4 new orders. So, you talk about impacting bottom line results. It's a great way to generate new orders. And even if they don't call you about a candidate that you highlighted, a specific candidate you highlighted in the mailing, they may have a need elsewhere, and it just keeps you top of mind.
Yeah, that's a great point, Brad. I've had clients who in the past have been able to pay for almost their entire year of marketing based on a placement that they had from a top candidate mailing.
All right, so our next quick hitter here focuses on using your blog content in other ways, and Todd touched on earlier using your content on social networks and in email marketing. But it doesn't have to just be online. We had a client who would take their blog articles and put them in a really nice desktop published format. So they would be able to print these PDFs, these very nice looking handouts and leave behinds. And they had a huge collection of these, and could leave these behind based on the conversation that they had with the client. So when they're on an appointment, depending on what challenges that particular client was facing, they could use these as nice leave behinds. And even if they weren't able to meet face-to-face, they could leave several of these together. So again, it goes back to differentiating your services. Instead of just leaving a trifold that talks about your services, leave something of value that helps the client solve an issue that they're currently having.
Yeah, Brad, and one of the phrases that we've used a lot throughout this presentation is leverage. And we talked about email newsletter, but also taking that content within the email newsletter and using it as print pieces, using it as drop-offs, leave behinds. If you're going to a job fair or career fair, take some articles on interviewing skills and bring those along with you as handouts to potential candidates. A lot of content marketing is providing great value to your clients, prospective clients, your candidates, but you also want to be able to provide your sales team with a lot of tools that they can use. And this is a great example of that. They can use it on cold calls, on visits, like I said, in career fairs, job fairs.
Another great platform you can use to share content is SlideShare. And if you don't have a SlideShare account, go out and get one. It's free. It's easy to set up. And you can use a lot of different content in a lot of different formats on SlideShare. Okay, this example, the screenshot you see, all we did was took a video about our company, so a company overview. And we have it on our website homepage, but we also just put it up on SlideShare. So if people were searching on SlideShare for marketing firms, marketing for staffing, we have a better chance of showing up. So we added it there, and this video within 2 months has already seen 130 views. It's not overwhelming amount of traffic, but it's just another place that we get in front of our audience. We've also taken our brochures, our sales presentations, PowerPoint presentations, and we've uploaded them to SlideShare. And as you can see in the right-hand side here, even our brochures about our services, have gotten thousands of views. So it's just another place that you can use the content that you've already created and get it in front of more and more people. Okay? When you do this, make sure that you include keywords in the content that you're uploading. As you can see here, we've used keywords like marketing for staffing, staffing websites. You'll want to use keywords like staffing agencies in a specific city when you're uploading content, so that if people are searching for that, you have a better chance of ranking well in Google results, and you have a better chance of ranking well when somebody's searching through SlideShare for something.
Hey, Brad, one more thing I'll mention about SlideShare is that, and it's kind of surprised me as we've started to use SlideShare, how many people will start following you on SlideShare, and then once they're following you, anytime you update your SlideShare account, they're getting email notifications about the changes you're making. So all of a sudden, you're doing marketing to these people without even realizing you're doing marketing to these people, and increasing your top-of-mind awareness with all the people who are following you. And I'm going to jump to the next quick hitter, ebooks. This is one of my favorites, where like we took an email newsletter article or a blog post, turned it into a printed piece, now we're turning it into something that's got even more value, an ebook. An ebook is an electronic document where we are going to take some piece of information and present it in a highly visual and engaging format. What I love about ebooks is they look like you spent a lot of money on them, even though you don't have to spend a lot of money on them. They are very valuable content, and then you can leverage them on your website as a means to collect sales leads. Brad showed the example earlier of setting up a landing page. And anytime you have an ebook, we suggest creating a corresponding landing page. So now people coming to your website who may not already know you, who may not be in active discussion with your sales team, they may want your ebook. And to download your ebook, you're going to make them give you your contact information. Your sales team has a steady stream of new leads.
Okay, another quick hitter, an iPad presentation. So most of us have a PowerPoint presentation, and when we go out on a sales appointment, maybe we take our laptop and open it up and walk through PowerPoint, and maybe we just thumb through the slides or pull it up on a larger screen. But an iPad is just a little bit more unique way to present that information. So you're not presenting necessarily different information, but you're changing the way that you're presenting it. So load your presentation on an iPad, and instead of flipping through it on your laptop, hand the iPad to your prospect. Okay? You could even set it up so that you're controlling the iPad presentation from your iPhone, so you can thumb through. But it gives the person, the prospect, something tangible they're holding. It's different in and of itself. It's a conversation starter. It draws their attention in a little bit more. So look at ways that you can just present your content differently than everybody else.
Yeah, Brad, another way that you can present content differently is through a program called Prezi. This is something that we just started using for our content marketing clients, but it's a really cool tool. Essentially what it does is it creates a very visual presentation of just a regular article, a regular piece of content that you might have. They've got a bunch of different templates that you can use to take the content in an article and present it in a really fun way. So it's almost like very similar to a slideshow, or a whiteboard presentation if you're familiar with those. For example, here we've got one about beating the winter blues, how to boost performance during a tough time of year. This Prezi works especially well if you've got an article that has like maybe a numbered list, like 5 tips on how to boost productivity during the winter months, or 10 ways to become a better leader. Something like that where it can kind of scroll through the list and present it in just a really fun way that's going to help you guys stand out.
Okay, and we've talked a lot about different channels to share your content. So generating good content, using different channels to deliver that content. One thing I do want to stress is that you need to make sure that each of those channels has a very professional feel, and you carry through your branding from your website to your Facebook page to Twitter to every channel that you're sharing content on. Make sure you have good branding, you carry that brand message through. And here's a good example. We created a custom page for Pacific Staffing on their Facebook account. Okay, we carried through the theme and the look and the feel of their website, and then you can see here that we have some very specific calls to action, and we have blog content being automatically pulled into their custom Facebook page. Just by doing this, we were able to increase weekly impressions by 46%, and they increased their page likes by 35%. Okay, so these were kind of one-time increases. We've seen that number trail down a little bit, but it's a great way to increase page likes. It's a great way to get people more engaged, and it's a good conversation starter.
Great, thanks guys. Now, for those of you who have been at our Lunch with Haley events before, you know we never talk about Haley Marketing Group and what we do. But today, since today's subject was about content marketing, we did want to spend a few minutes and give you a little bit of a sales pitch, but mostly to introduce you to some of the things that are in our Haley Mail service. However, before we jump into showing you some of the ins and outs of Haley Mail, we have had some questions that have come in. So I want to address these to our panel today. Number one, and Todd, I think this one's for you. Any suggestions on how to prevent email newsletters from being dumped into spam or junk mail?
Yeah, there's a couple different things that you want to take a look at. One from a technical side of things, things like DKIM registration and SPF records. Those are things that your IP provider can set up for you. That will essentially, what it does in very quick nutshell is it gives third-party programs the authority to send out emails on your behalf. Another thing to look at too is there are some great sites out there free of charge that will actually run a spam report on your particular newsletter. So you can just take the HTML code, throw it into one of these spam checkers, and it'll spit out a report to you saying whether this is likely to get caught by spam filters. And there's also smaller things you can do too, like subject lines, just making sure you don't have, some of the more common phrases that you'll see. Just if you open up your own spam box, the phrases that you see within those subject lines are usually things that get caught. So just a couple things to do there that can make sure that you get good delivery on your email newsletter.
And the last thing I recommend is to work with someone who's a reputable email sender, so someone who specifically has people in place that do things like monitor feedback loops to make sure when there are complaints about your newsletter, those complaints are being addressed. And if you're using someone who doesn't do that, it increases the probability of that email not getting delivered. Or if you're doing it on your own, then you've suddenly got this added expense of managing the feedback loops, or if you ignore them, even worse, getting your own email domain blacklisted, which means you can't get your regular email through to people. So the most important recommendation on deliverability is to use a sender who does email marketing for a living. All right, another question about the top candidate marketing. Do you reveal the specific names of the candidates and include their resumes, or what is the format being used?
The format for top candidates is I usually tell clients not to use the full names. Most of my clients will use like a first name or first name and last initial. I also suggest not sending out a full resume. As a staffing firm, one of your benefits is that you are searching through these people's resumes ahead of time and presenting them to your clients and prospective clients. So the last thing your contacts want to do is look through a full resume. So what I tell people to do is, and the phrase I kind of use is go into used car salesman mode. These are supposed to be the cream of the crop talent that you have available. You really want to oversell these people. Just a quick paragraph, one paragraph, two paragraphs about their work experience, what makes them stand out, maybe a quick sentence from a reference from a previous position. But again, you really want to sell these people as these are the best talent that's available in our market right now.
Great, thanks. And one last question, guys, before we take a quick look at Haley Mail. In terms of measuring the results of content marketing, what tools, what techniques do you guys suggest are the best ways to measure whether or not you're getting a good return on your investment?
I can chime in here, David. The first thing that I would do is make sure that Google Analytics is installed across every page in your website. Okay, what that's going to do is tell you exactly where traffic is coming from to your site. It's going to tell you what search term they typed into Google or Bing to find your site. It's going to tell you what content gets hit the most. So it will tell you how long people are staying on pages in your website. So you can use all of this data to one, make sure that you're writing about the right topics. Two, make sure from a search engine optimization standpoint that you're targeting the right keywords. If you're not getting traffic from keywords that you do want to get traffic from, you'll know that so that you can adjust your content strategy. And then you can also look at pages on your site that have high exit rates. So what pages on your website are people leaving from? And then from there you can look at those pages and adjust the content. Maybe you need a stronger call to action or some buttons or a form so that you convert more visitors of your site to prospects. Another thing that I would suggest, and we've done this for one or two of our clients, is creating a form that you use internally. So Todd mentioned earlier and made a plea that everyone track where phone calls are coming from. Okay, you can create a form through Google Forms that you can have your receptionist use. Every time somebody calls on the phone, she goes to that form and notes where that call came from. So at the end of the week or end of the month, you've recorded all this data digitally, and you can look at that and decide what your most effective marketing channels are. And then from there, you can allocate your marketing budget accordingly and market more wisely.
Brad, I know we had a client recently who swore that their website wasn't driving any traffic to their business, and you set up one of those forms for them. Would you mind sharing what they learned?
Sure. Yeah, it was very interesting. We went from, in looking at Google Analytics, I could tell that their website was performing fabulously. Okay, but they didn't feel like that was converting to any business. So we set up this form, and what they found was that about 50% of their phone calls were coming because of the website and because people were finding them on search engines. So they went from thinking that this wasn't working to realizing that, holy cow, this is working fabulously. So 50% of all inbound calls were coming from their website or from the search engine.
Great, thank you. And earlier in the presentation, somebody had asked the question, where do you get content from? And now I'm going to come back to the sales pitch part of the presentation. You can create content yourself. You can create emails. You can write blog posts. You can create ebooks. You can design Prezi presentations. Or you can come to us. This is what we do for a living. This is what we've been doing since 1996. And today we have a product called HaleyMail, which is really content marketing made easy. It is all of the tools that you need for content marketing in one place. It's content, new stuff every month. It's email marketing. It's all of the tools you need for social media marketing. What we're doing in HaleyMail is we are creating articles for clients and candidates and email newsletters for clients and candidates every single month. We are providing at least once a quarter an ebook, a slideshow, a Prezi presentation. We are creating those drop-offs that you saw examples of every single month for the sales team to use. We are providing seasonal e-cards and staffing promotions. We're providing top candidates and hot job emails. We're providing resource centers, staffing resource center and a candidate resource center, all of this content, and then a marketing advisor, that's what Todd does for a living, who acts as a personal trainer and coach to our clients to help you get the absolute best results. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time. I want to just keep this as a quick intro, but if you'd like to learn more about HaleyMail, there's a survey that comes up at the end of this presentation. Feel free to check the box on HaleyMail and we'll get back in touch with you, or just give us a call. We'll be happy to take you on a demo of HaleyMail, show you all the tools. And even better, our Valentine's Day promotion. If you are interested in getting started with HaleyMail and you can make a decision before the end of February, you will get free startup on 1 year of HaleyMail content marketing services. So we'll keep the sales pitch short, but it's a great place to get everything you need to do content marketing. And I will say that the cost of service is less than $500 a month. So something that is very affordable. One placement pays for multiple years of HaleyMail services. So if you'd like to know more about it, it's 888-696-2900. Or you can check it out on our website and under our services area. If there are questions from today's presentation, we will stay on the line for a while. If you think of something after it, please don't be shy about reaching out. You can call us, email us, connect with us on LinkedIn, connect with us on Facebook or on Twitter, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. If you missed a presentation and you want to catch up on it, we're uploading lots of our presentations to our Idea Lab. It's for free. It's on our website. So you can go to haleymarketing.com/Idea Lab. And then you can access our webinars, our white papers, our ebooks right from our website. The only thing you need to do is give us your contact info, and then you'll have access to the Idea Lab. It's also a great illustration of content marketing in action. And just to finally wrap things up, many of you know the Staffing Industry Executive Forum is coming up in less than 2 weeks. Brad and I are going to be there along with Ryan from the Haley Marketing Group team, and we're going to do our best to take lots of notes. So if you are not headed to the Executive Forum, we will be doing a recap webinar 1 month from today on Thursday, March the 14th, and we're going to do our best to share all that we hear. You can reserve your seat at lunchwithhaley.com. And again, thanks to everybody. Thanks, Brad. Thanks, Todd, for the great information, the great case studies today. And we'll look forward to seeing everybody on the next Lunch with Haley event.